No.
iHeartRadio.
We can log into mine.
Nope. All right, here we go. So, it says, oh, that's why you were saying, I was like, why are they even saying that? Because I didn't hit power, I hit the iHeartRadio. There we go. All right, below, for example 3, below is a proposed alternative to the current federal income tax system based on a taxpayer's annual income. For the first $100,000 of income, every dollar is taxed at a rate of 10%. Each additional dollar over $100,000 is taxed at a rate of 20% for the next $100,000 of income. Over $200,000 is a rate of 30 for the next $100,000. Every dollar over $300,000 is taxed at a rate of 40%. All right, so what does X stand for? Yeah, your annual income. Yeah. Hold on, let me get out my remote. My remote that I need to zoom in. Okay. And then once I plug in an X and I do T of X, what are my outputs going to mean? Once I plug something into this piecewise function, what is the output going to mean? Yeah, it's gonna say how much tax you're going to pay. This is a proposed alternative.
Why are we doing this?
Because we're learning how to write piecewise functions in a context as opposed to taking a piecewise function that was already given to you. Piecewise functions are actually the most applicable because this is how a lot of companies actually do this sort of thing where they say it's this price if this situation, it's this price if this situation. Buy one, get two free. But they say, like, if you're getting t-shirts made, the more t-shirts you buy, the cheaper they are. But they might say the first however many t-shirts you get made are this cost, and then the next set is this cost, the next set is this cost. Once you guys get to the point where you're going to get married, they're going to start talking about if you have this many guests, it's this price. If you have this many guests, it's this price. The additional number of guests are this price. Once you say, oh, we're only going to have 500 guests, okay, this is the price we settled on. Oh, shoot, we had 500 guests, but there were 50 people who said they were bringing a plus one that we didn't plan on. Okay, those 500 guests cost this much, but the extra 50 are going to cost this much. All of that are piecewise functions. Piecewise functions are actually the most accurate descriptions for most real-world things. So, more accurate than most of the stuff we deal with anyway. The other thing is these are pretty messy, which is more accurate than what we typically do anyway because the real-world stuff is more messy anyway. So, all right, so the next thing we do is we start drawing out that kind of number line idea so that we can start to see what different pieces we have. So we're starting at 0 if you make $0 because you don't got a job. And then what's the first break? 100,000. Okay, and what tax percent are you paying for that? 10%. Okay. And then what's the next dollar amount? 200,000. So it was 100,000 more, which makes it 200,000. And what was the tax percentage for that? 20%. Okay. 200,000. 20% taxes, 200,000. No, it says 200,000, but it's missing a 0. Okay, and then the next one is 300,000. And what's the percentage here? And then what percent is over 300,000? 40%. And we got our arrow. We got our arrow at the end. Okay. No.
Can you imagine getting nearly half of that stolen? Can you imagine me stealing it?
Miss Rice does not make 300,000 a year. That's how yeah. You can tell Miss Rice makes the big bucks because she's got a water heater. All right, so we're going to say that of your income, what percentage of it are you spending on taxes for the first piece? 10%. How do you write that? So it's 10% this way, but how do you actually write that as a decimal? 0.10. Okay, so we're going to say 0.10x, so 0.10 times x if x is your income. And this is if x is in between what values? 0 and 100,000. Okay? All right. That was the easiest one. The next one's where they get more tricky. So what do we have to do for the next one? They're saying each additional dollar over 100,000 is taxed at the new rate, but the first 100,000 is only taxed at 10%. So how do we write that the first 100,000 is taxed at 10%? How do we write that? We're going to say 10% times 100,000 plus, and then how do we write that everything over that is taxed at 20%? 0.20 x minus 100,000. Nope. Mm-hmm. So that if your income was 120,000, you would plug in 120 right here, and then it would be 120 minus 100, and so you'd be like, oh, 20,000 is what gets that extra cost, that extra percentage. Or if it was 150,000, you do 150,000 minus 100 is 50,000 is getting that extra. So our goal in writing a piecewise function is that once we write the piecewise function, we can plug numbers in without having to think. We do the thinking when we write the function so that when we plug numbers in, we don't have to think anymore. All right, this is if, and now we're going to say if x is between what numbers? 100,000 and 200,000. Now you'll notice that when I did the sandwich over here, I said equal to, but when I did the sandwich over here, I did not. Why did I change it up? Yeah, it says over 100,000. So I already did the equal to 100,000 on the first line. So on the second line, I'm not going to equal 100,000. That's only if I'm over that much. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Am I keeping you with me? All right. Okay. To do your hair. Got to fluff it up real good. All right. The next one says, sorry, my phone was ringing. It was very distracting. It was vibrating the whole table. All right. The next one says, now every dollar over 200,000 is at that rate of 30%. Okay. So now we're going to keep this trend going. We're going to say 10% for the first 100,000. 20%, and this is the next 100,000, so that's the 100,000. It was from 100 to 200,000. So this was from 0 to 100,000. That's the first 100,000. This is the second 100,000. And now we're talking into the third 100,000 range, so we got 30%. And what are we going to put in parentheses here? X minus 200,000. So we just want to see how far over 200,000 we got. Is our income 210,000? So it's only 10,000 that's being taxed at that higher rate. Is our new income 250,000? So it's only being taxed 50,000 over that new rate. Okay. And this is if, and we're doing in between, because we haven't gotten to 40% yet. Yeah, because look how many we've got. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? So we have a piecewise function with 4 pieces. Isn't that obnoxious? Oh, how obnoxious. I'm so annoyed by this problem. All right, so if x is in between 200,000, making sure I have the appropriate number of zeros so my students don't bully me. Each of these was 100,000. This was the first 100,000. That was the second 100,000. And then over here, what do I have right there? 300,000. Bam. All right. Last line. You guys ready? All right. What do we put? 10% for the first 100,000. Yeah, you got to write super little. And then 20% for the next 100,000. And then 30% for the next 100,000. So for the next 100,000 would make it 200,000, right? Because you're adding them together. And the next 100,000 would have made it 300,000 because you're adding them together. So this would be 100,000 in your salary, 200,000 in your salary, 300,000 in your salary. But they're all being taxed at separate amounts. Can you imagine the American people trying to wrap their heads around this? The ones that did not make it to Honors Math 3. They would be like, I'm being discriminated against. I would probably not do this problem in a regular Math 3 class. All right, plus, and then what should we put? 40% times what? X minus 300,000, because it's only the amount that you make over 300,000 that gets that extra tax. Whew. It's a lot of numbers. Okay, are you guys kind of seeing the pattern, though, and how I'm creating these pieces? Okay, so once you can kind of figure out how the pattern works, it's just going through the process. The process is a little bit tedious, but they're not horrible to write once you kind of understand the process, okay? This is if, and then what should I put now? And Hannah, this is you. X is greater than 300,000. Marvelous. Greater than. It's not equal to, because that was the previous one. Good question. That was a good question, though. If you make the big bucks. All right. Now, Kel, this is the hard part because we're going to clean it up. So we still got to use some more space. Okay. Now, that's fine. Now, those of you who have to do your hair, I'm recording this, so you can always go back and finish it up, okay? Marvelous. All right. So that first line does not have to be cleaned up. We're just going to copy it down. Now, some teachers, and this depends if you were to do a problem like this on the EOC, some teachers like to do all the distribution and get rid of these parentheses over here, and I don't like to do that. That is not my preference. I think it makes the problem harder for you to see what's going on. So I am not going to do that. I'm not going to make you do that, okay? Because I just think it makes it more confusing, okay? So I'm not going to make you do that. But if we are doing a multiple choice problem and your answer is not there, then just distribute and get rid of your parentheses, okay? And you'll see what I mean in a second, all right? So what I'm going to do for the first one to clean it up a little bit is I'm going to do 0.10 times 100,000. 0.10 times 100,000. I get 10,000. So that's 10,000 plus 0.20 times x minus 100,000. So what I mean is that some teachers do not like it if you leave these parentheses here. Some teachers would want you to distribute the 0.20 and have this answer be 0.20x and then have the 0.20 times the 100,000 and combine like terms with those two numbers. I don't like doing that because I think it takes away the meaning of the piecewise function of this being one piece at one rate and one piece at another rate. I don't like doing that, okay? So I'm going to let you guys do this. It also is a little bit less work to do it this way. But I will say for EOC problems, I haven't really seen a lot of these on the EOC that I can think of. But just know it always is an option to simplify a little bit more than I'm requiring of you by distributing to get rid of the parentheses. That's always something that you can do. So if 100,000 less than x less than or equal to 200,000. All right, so next one, 0.10 times 100,000 plus 0.20 times 100, 30,000. This is worse than what?
The writing of paragraphs would be increasing and decreasing in range and domain and vertex.
I know.
Reflection.
We do some tedious stuff in this class. Because that's the math that we're in. Because that's the content we have to cover. Okay. How are you doing with cleaning that up? Did I lose anybody in any of those steps? Did it make sense? Are we okay? So all I did is I did this math. I did 0.10 times 100,000. I wrote it right here. And then I just copied this down. The 30,000. Are you sure? I just did. I think it's just 30. Because it's 10,000, 20,000. So that's the 30 right here. And then 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. There's no 40,000 from this.
Oh, I see. I took the third part of the simplified piecewise function
Just 0.3 times 100,000. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing? Are we good? Am I going to put 15 of these on a test? No. Am I going to put one of these on a test? Yes. One, yes. Probably just one, yes. No, I'll have to go look at the test. I put one that you have to write and then one that's already written that you have to answer questions about. Probably. I think plugging things in and answering questions is a pretty reasonable skill. All right. So if you have $150,000 in your income, then how much tax do you have to pay? So what do we need to do? Your income is 150,000. Okay, so that means X is 150,000. Okay. So we're going to plug it into the piecewise function. And which of the 4 equations are we plugging it into? Yeah, plug into the second one. Plug it into the second one. So we're going to do 10,000 plus 0.20 times 150,000 minus 100,000. That's what we're plugging it into. So 10,000 plus 20% times 150,000 minus 100,000. And what do you get? 20,000. Is that not cringy? Nobody feels cringy about that? You're like, yeah, I made 150,000 this year and I gave $20,000 away in taxes. Nobody? Oh, that makes my eyes twitch. That makes me want to stab puppies. It doesn't make me want to stab puppies, I take it back. They are paying 20,000 in taxes. Ugh, gross. They're paying 20,000 in taxes. Miss Rice, why did you write a sentence? Because it's a story problem and it deserves a story answer. What is the deal with the hat? It's very distracting. I see. Yes, Corey.
So my thing is to answer the question is 20,000. That be allowed?
I hate it. Yes.
Why would you want to be a psychopath? You need to live.
What are they doing for you?
What are they doing right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, come on.
You only give tips for good service.
Are you allowed?
All right, class. I'm going to turn around so I can't see. You know what to do. All right, let's move on. Next page. All right. So, a salesperson makes $35,000 a year plus a 4% commission on all sales up to and including $500,000. If they exceed $500,000 in sales for a calendar year, the salesperson commission jumps to 6% for all their remaining sales that are over $500,000. The salesperson total salary S for the given year is based on their total sales. Yeah, look at the this is actually commission is kind of the same thing as like the idea of like working a waitress job where like Did you guys know that people who like wait tables, they make like a base of like $2.16 an hour? They live off tips. So if you don't tip them, they're basically making nothing. Like they don't even make minimum wage. They don't make close to minimum wage. They make like nothing an hour, and then the only thing they make is your tip. So same idea with salespeople who work on commission is they don't make any money unless they're getting credit for selling you clothing or selling you the car or whatever. So yeah, like it's mandatory or whatever.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I mean it makes sense for if it's getting to become a common thing where people don't tip because then certain people are not making enough to live off of. But anyway, so they're saying that like in certain places, salespeople are not making very much a year because 35,000 is not a ton to live off of, especially in like today's like what's the word? Yeah. Plus 4% commission on all sales up until the point where they're selling $500,000 worth, $500,000 worth, and then at that point, then they get a higher commission. So let's go ahead and start defining our terms here. So what is X representing? Total sales. Okay. And then we have their total salary S. So S is a function of X. And so what is S representing? Salary based on their sales. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this. So they could make no sales. Okay. And then what's the number of sales that you have in there? What's the only number they gave us that has to do with sales? 500,000. Okay. Now, if you sell nothing, you sell absolutely nothing, you are a horrible salesperson, what's your salary? 35,000. Okay. If you sell between nothing and $500,000, how much commission do you make? 4%. Okay. If you sell over $500,000, how much commission do you make? 6%. Okay. All right, so we've got that information set up. I want you guys to see how much you can write of the piecewise function. Before you get started, let's take these decimals and let's take these percentages and turn them into decimals. So 0.04, what about 6%? 0.06. Okay, see what you can do with that. This is a little bit different from the last one because the last one we just had percentages of X. We didn't start with that base number of 35,000. So that's going to be a little bit different compared to the example we just did. But I want you to see if you can get started on this one, what you can come up with, and then I'll come through kind of after a couple minutes and I'll help you guys fix whatever you came up with, okay? So just see if you can get started. If nothing else, try to write the little brackets at the end for like what X should be sandwiched between, because I think you guys can do those at least. How many pieces are going to be in this piecewise function? Only 2. So not 4, not like the last one. Okay, if you sell nothing, remind me how much money you make. Okay, so everyone should start off with 35,000. You make nothing, you sell nothing, you at least make that much. Okay. Now let's say you sell something. I'm gonna add more to how much money I make. 0.04 times what? X, because X is total sales. Okay? That represents your total salary right there. $35,000, that's your baseline, plus 4% commission on your total sales. Does that make sense? Is that reasonable? my salary that I earn no matter what I sell, plus 4% commission of however much I sell. Okay. Now, this is if X is between what? Okay. All right. Now, the next one is a little bit trickier. I want you guys to take what we figured out from this and see if you can come up with the next one. Okay? All right. So for the next line, what should I start with? 35,000. Then what should I have? But before you clean it up. Okay. So you should have this next. So we're saying if you've made it to the next tier, then you for sure have sold $500,000 worth. Plus, and then what else? And you've made it past 500,000, so the part that represents past 500,000 is 0.06x minus 500,000. So this is your base salary. This is the first 500,000 you sold. This is anything you sold past 500,000. Okay. And then we have if X is greater than 500,000. Okay. Yeah, and then let's go ahead. It's not wrong to write it like that. 500,000 is less than X. It's just that people will kind of like frown at you. They'll be like, "That's funky." Not wrong. It's different. All right, I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. And then Jack, how much did you say 0.04 of 500,000 was? 20,000. Okay, so it's 55 plus. Okay, so this would be 55,000 because this is 20 right here. This right here is 20. 55,000 plus 0.06 x minus 500. Yeah.
Do we have to clean it up?
You have to clean it up to at least this much. Yeah. Just because this is not standard practice, this is not the way I'm showing you how to set it up, but this is standard practice. So I'm showing you guys this method because I think that's easier to write when you're first learning. If you get to the point where you are pretty good at writing them and you want to skip to the second part right away, you can. But not cleaning it up at all is not standard practice. Does that make sense? It'll be on Canvas, yeah. Yeah, when I'm done recording. All right. So if a salesman sells 350,000, how much money are they going to make? Which one do we plug it into? First one. So if for 350,000, so we're going to do 35,000 plus 0.04 times 350,000. This could be like you are interviewing to work at Dillard's, and they're telling you how their Dillard's is a department store for old people, or Nordstrom's, or what are some other stores like that? I don't know. And they're telling you how you get paid there. This could be you figuring out if it's worth it to you to work there or not. They certainly do not pay their employees this way. Yeah. All right. $49,000 is their yearly salary. All right, what if they sell $700,000 in product per year? Plug it into the second one, right? So this is 55,000 plus 0.06. How do you guys feel? Would you work at those places if you're selling them that much in product and you're making that much per year? I don't know. I don't feel comfy with that. I'm like, I'm making you guys a lot of money. You're not making me that much money. Yeah. Yeah, they should. They should give you benefits. If the benefits are good, yeah, that's true. We're not looking at all the details there. There could be more to it. Sam, what are you thinking? Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. I'd want some more money than that. I'd be like, for what I sell for you, I can't even afford to shop here, man.